Have you ever woken up feeling low, and then let that feeling run your entire day? Most people do. But here's the truth, your mood is not something that just happens to you. It is something you choose, whether you realize it or not. Every single morning, you have the power to decide how you are going to feel. The problem is, nobody ever taught us that. We were raised to react, not to lead ourselves. Tony Robbins has spent decades studying why some people stay stuck in negativity, while others seem to radiate energy no matter what life throws at them. The answer is not luck. It is not circumstance. It is a decision. Your emotions are not your master, they are your servant. The moment you understand that, everything changes. You stop being a victim of your feelings and start becoming the architect of your inner world. This speech is your wake-up call. It is time to stop waiting for something outside of you to make you feel good and start taking control from the inside out. Your mood is not a weather forecast. It does not just roll in without warning and leave you helpless. Every single emotion you experience begins with a single thought. That thought triggers a feeling, that feeling shapes your behavior, and that behavior decides the quality of your day. Most people have never stopped to examine this chain. They wake up, feel whatever they feel, and assume that is just the way things are. But that assumption is costing them their happiness, their energy, and their potential. Think about the last time you were in a bad mood. What actually started it? Chances are, it was not a dramatic event. It was a small thought, a worry about money, a memory of an argument, a fear about the future. That one thought snowballed into a feeling, and before you knew it, your entire morning was ruined. Now here is the powerful part. If a single thought can pull you down that fast, imagine what the right thought, chosen deliberately, can do for you. The same mechanism that works against you can be flipped entirely in your favor. The word choice here is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is not about fake smiles or toxic positivity. Choosing your mood means developing the awareness to catch yourself before you spiral, and then making a conscious decision to redirect. It is a skill, just like any other. And like any skill, it feels awkward and difficult at first. But with practice, it becomes second nature. You begin to notice your emotional patterns, and instead of following them blindly, you start to lead them. Most people hand over the remote control of their emotions to the outside world every single day. Someone cuts them off in traffic, their mood drops. A coworker says something rude, their energy crashes. The news delivers bad headlines. Their hope fades. They are essentially living on emotional autopilot, letting every external event decide how they feel inside. But the men and women who achieve extraordinary things in life have learned one fundamental truth. You cannot always control what happens around you, but you can always control what happens within you. This is not a theory. This is backed by decades of psychology, neuroscience, and human behavior research. Your brain is remarkably plastic. It can be rewired through repeated thought patterns. When you consistently choose to interrupt negative thinking and replace it with something more empowering, you are literally reshaping the way your brain responds to the world. You are building new neural pathways. You are training your mind the same way an athlete trains their body, with repetition, intention, and discipline. And once you truly internalize this, once it stops being something you heard and starts being something you live, you realize that no one else has been given the keys to your inner world. You have always had them. The question was never whether you could control your mood. The question was whether you were willing to. And that willingness starts with understanding something that goes even deeper than thought alone. Something that lives in your body, your posture, and the very way you breathe. Most people believe that the mind controls the body. And while that is partially true, what they do not realize is that the relationship works both ways. Your body speaks to your brain just as loudly as your brain speaks to your body. The way you sit, the way you stand, the way you hold your shoulders, the pace of your breathing, all of it is sending a constant signal to your nervous system, telling it what emotional state to produce. This is not a metaphor. This is biology. And once you understand it, you will never slouch through a difficult moment the same way again. Try something right now. Drop your shoulders, look down at the floor, breathe slowly and shallow, and let your chest cave inward. Hold that position for 30 seconds. Notice what starts to happen inside you. A quiet heaviness begins to settle in. Your thoughts slow down and turn gray. Your energy dips. Now do the opposite. Pull your shoulders back, lift your chin, take a deep breath that fills your lungs completely, and put a slight smile on your face. Within moments, something shifts. Your brain receives an entirely different set of signals, and it responds accordingly. You did not change your circumstances. You changed your physiology, and your mood followed. Tony Robbins has taught this principle to millions of people across the world, from struggling individuals to Fortune 500 executives. He calls it a state change, and it is one of the fastest and most reliable tools available to any human being. When you are stuck in a low emotional state, the worst thing you can do is sit still and think your way out of it. The mind in a negative state will only produce more negative thoughts. But the moment you move your body, stand up, walk briskly, dance, jump, stretch, you interrupt the pattern. You break the loop. And in that break, you create space for a better state to enter. There is fascinating science behind this. When you adopt an expansive, open posture, your body reduces cortisol, the stress hormone, and increases testosterone and serotonin, the chemicals associated with confidence and well-being. Researchers have found that even holding a powerful posture for as little as 2 minutes can shift your hormonal balance measurably. Your face is equally powerful. The simple act of smiling, even when you do not feel like it, sends feedback to your brain that triggers the release of dopamine and endorphins. Your body does not wait for permission from your emotions, it creates them. This is why athletes warm up before a competition. This is why soldiers march in formation. This is why performers pace backstage before walking into the spotlight. They are not just preparing their muscles, they are preparing their emotional state. They understand, consciously or instinctively, that the body is a gateway to the mind. And that gateway swings both ways. You can use movement, breath, and posture as a remote control for your inner world, dialing up the emotional frequency you need at any given moment. The most empowering realization is this: you do not have to wait to feel motivated before you move. You move first, and the motivation follows. You do not wait to feel confident before you stand tall. You stand tall, and confidence begins to build. The body leads, and the mind catches up. This gives you an extraordinary advantage in life, because no matter where you are or what you are facing, you always have your body with you. And your body is always ready to help you shift. But shifting your physiology is only part of the equation, because even after you change how you move and breathe, there is still something else quietly running in the background, shaping every emotion you feel. And that something is where you choose to point your attention. There is an old saying that has been repeated across cultures and centuries, and it goes something like this: where attention goes, energy flows. It sounds simple. It sounds almost too simple. But buried inside that short phrase is one of the most profound truths about human psychology ever discovered. What you focus on does not just influence how you feel, it literally becomes your reality. Two people can stand in the exact same room, face the exact same situation, and walk away with completely opposite emotional experiences. Not because their circumstances were different, but because their focus was. Your brain is not designed to process everything around you simultaneously. Every single second, your senses are bombarded with millions of pieces of information, sounds, sights, sensations, thoughts, memories. But your conscious mind can only handle a tiny fraction of that at once. So your brain does something remarkable. It filters. It selects. It highlights what you have trained it to look for and dismisses the rest. If you have spent years training your brain to look for problems, it will find problems everywhere. If you have trained it to look for opportunity, gratitude, and possibility, it will find those instead. The world you see is not objective reality. It is a reflection of your habitual focus. This is why two people can go through the same painful experience, a job loss, a breakup, a failure, and one comes out defeated while the other comes out stronger. It is not that one felt less pain. It is that one asked a different question. Instead of asking, "Why does this always happen to me?" they asked, "What can I learn from this?" That single shift in focus changes the entire emotional landscape of the experience. The quality of your life is largely determined by the quality of the questions you ask yourself, because your brain will always work to find an answer to whatever question you give it. Ask disempowering questions, and it will find disempowering answers. Ask empowering ones, and it will search relentlessly for reasons to rise. Gratitude is perhaps the most powerful focusing tool available to human beings. It is physiologically impossible to feel genuine gratitude and genuine fear at the same time. They cannot occupy the same mental space simultaneously. When you deliberately shift your focus toward what you are thankful for, not in a superficial way, but with real depth and feeling, your entire emotional chemistry changes within moments. This is why so many of the world's highest performers begin their mornings with gratitude practices. They are not being naive about their challenges. They are strategically choosing where to point their mental spotlight before the noise of the day has a chance to point it somewhere else. The danger of an unfocused mind is that it defaults to negativity. This is not a character flaw, it is evolution. The human brain developed a negativity bias over thousands of years because staying alert to danger kept our ancestors alive. But that same survival mechanism, left unchecked in the modern world, becomes a thief. It steals your peace, your creativity, and your joy. It keeps you scanning for threats that no longer exist. Overriding that bias requires intentional, daily effort. It requires you to consciously redirect your focus the same way you would redirect a wandering child, gently, firmly, and repeatedly, without giving up. And here is what makes this so urgent. Focus is not neutral. Every moment you spend dwelling on what is wrong, what is missing, and what could go wrong is a moment your brain is being trained to see the world through that lens more automatically next time. The pattern deepens with every repetition. But the same is true in reverse. Every moment you consciously choose to focus on what is working, what is possible, and what you are grateful for, you are laying down a new track in your mind. You are building a new default. And over time, that new default begins to feel natural, even effortless. But focus alone, as powerful as it is, still needs a structure to hold it in place. A daily framework that does not rely on willpower or inspiration alone. And that is exactly where the next piece of this conversation begins. Most people wait to feel good before they take action. They wait for motivation to arrive, like a guest they have been expecting, standing at the door, looking down the street, hoping it shows up soon. But motivation is not a visitor, it is a result. It is something that follows action, not something that precedes it. The most successful, emotionally grounded people in the world did not get that way because life handed them perfect circumstances. They got that way because they stopped leaving their emotional state to chance. They built rituals. Small, deliberate, daily practices that generate the energy, focus, and mood they need, regardless of how they feel when they wake up. They did not find consistency. They engineered it. A ritual is not the same as a routine. A routine is mechanical. You do it out of habit, without intention, the way you brush your teeth or check your phone. A ritual is intentional. You do it with full awareness, knowing exactly what it is building inside you. When Tony Robbins talks about his morning priming practice, the breathing, the movement, the gratitude, the visualization, he is not doing it because he always feels like it. He is doing it because he knows that if he sets the emotional tone of his morning deliberately, the rest of his day responds accordingly. He is not reacting to his day. He is designing it. And that distinction separates people who feel in control of their lives from those who feel permanently behind. The science of habit formation tells us that the brain loves predictability. When you perform the same sequence of actions at the same time each day, your brain begins to anticipate the emotional reward that follows. Over time, the ritual itself becomes a trigger. The moment you begin, your nervous system starts shifting toward the state you have trained it to expect. This is why athletes have pregame rituals, why monks have prayer schedules, why the most productive minds in history have guarded their morning hours with almost fierce dedication. They understood something that most people overlook entirely, that emotional consistency is not a gift you are born with. It is a structure you build, brick by brick, day by day. What you do in the first 30 to 60 minutes of your morning sets the neurological and emotional tone for everything that follows. If you wake up and immediately reach for your phone, scroll through bad news, and rush into the chaos of the day without any intentional transition, you are handing your emotional state over to the world before you have even had a chance to claim it for yourself. But when you protect that window, when you use it for movement, for breath, for gratitude, for silence, for whatever practice grounds and energizes you, you walk into your day already ahead. You are not catching up to your mood. You are leading it. And while rituals build the inner foundation you need, there is still an external force that quietly shapes your emotional world every single day, often without you even noticing it. You are not just shaped by what you think, how you move, where you focus, or what rituals you practice. You are also quietly and constantly shaped by what you consume and who you surround yourself with. Every piece of content you feed your mind, the news you watch, the conversations you engage in, the social media you scroll through, is either adding to your emotional energy or subtracting from it. There is no neutral input. Everything you allow into your mind leaves a residue, and over time, that residue becomes the lens through which you see yourself and the world around you. The people in your life carry an energy that is more contagious than any virus ever discovered. Spend enough time with someone who complains constantly, and you will find yourself complaining too. Spend enough time with someone who is driven, grateful, and emotionally grounded, and those qualities will begin to surface in you as well. This is not coincidence, it is neuroscience. Your brain contains mirror neurons that literally mimic the emotional states of the people around you. You absorb the moods, the beliefs, and the standards of your closest circle whether you intend to or not. Choosing your circle is not an act of arrogance, it is an act of self-preservation. So here is where the story ends, and where your story truly begins. You now understand that your mood is a choice anchored in thought, activated by your body, directed by your focus, sustained by your rituals, and protected by your environment. None of these are things that happen to you. They are things you decide, build, and guard every single day. The life you want, the energy you crave, and the emotional freedom you deserve are not waiting for circumstances to change. They are waiting for you to decide that you are worth the effort of choosing them.